do see it being an issue in the Shidduchim world. It's mainly about single women feeling lost in the community. They feel like they're not a part of the community.
Yeah, what I'm curious about, like, to hear from you, like what you're hearing is that, if certain people are telling you that it's more of a girl issue rather than guy issue, that it's easier for guys, I want to know, like, what do you think is the justification of saying that? Like, why do they think that it's easier for single men to get invited out into the community versus a single girl to get invited out into the community?
But I did feel, when I was single, I did feel like, families are inviting single men out. I think it has something to do with...
There are certain strategies that one could take potentially to improve their situation. I kind of want to go through with them.
Sarah and Max, an unlikely pair in this wild podcast, they're the perfect flair. Sarah's charm, so feminine and free, a Cali girl spirit under the podcast tree. Max a strong force with a punch in every word. Together they navigate the dating absurd. Don't forget to hit subscribe, join the crew for more laughs and tales just for you. Now back to the show.
Welcome to another wonderful edition of Good for Shidduchim. Look who is back. It's Sarah, but in addition, we also have Shlomi. We have kept him hostage, so he will be on this week's episode. But welcome back, Sarah.
I was called in to fix the camera.
And here we are. Now you're part of the show.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's all good for Shidduchim. But before we begin, we have a special sponsor. And guys, if you are single, there's only one thing that women want to hear more than your bank account and your height, and that's if you learn. And if you don't have a chavrusa right now, it will be very possible you can find a chavrusa using My Avrech. With My Avrech, they will simply match you up with a perfect avrech for you. You can study any topic you want, and of course, it's good for shidduchim. Go to myavrech.co and get your avrech today.
And who knows? If the Avrechim are single, you can get a Avrech single chavrusa as well.
There we go. But anyways, I wanted to talk about a very, very, I would say, sensitive topic, because it's very sensitive to a lot of people, and I already know I'm going to get blasted about something like this, but I think it would be very beneficial.
You have plenty to be blasted about besides this topic, too.
Oh, is that so? But I do see it being an issue in the Shidduchim world, specifically more for single women than single men. But it's mainly about single women feeling lost in the community. They feel like they're not a part of the community, and I feel like there are certain strategies that one could take potentially to improve their situation. I kind of want to go through with them today, and I want to get your take on that as well. But yeah, I mean, even me and Shlomi, we started out, we didn't really know many people here, both single. We were able to navigate the situation, and thank God we became, feel like a part of the community. So I feel like we have what to say. So Shlomi for joining us in this episode.
Yes, being forced here, but however, I enjoying the time.
There we go. So what do you guys think of this strategy? I came up with one strategy that I feel is bulletproof, that anyone can do, and is extremely simple to do, but you have to do it. And the first way to do it is, number one, you got to go to shul. So number one, let's say you go to shul. Like, one thing I notice a big difference between the men's section and the women's section. Number one, the men's section talk, the women's section doesn't. But one thing we do is simply say good Shabbos to people. I don't know what it is about our show, but no one says good Shabbos to, like, in the women's section. Like, no one talks to each other.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, Max, is it just a specific community, or are you talking about the Jewish Orthodox communities in general not being so open to specifically inviting single women?
Well, I mean, that's pretty much all I know is the Jewish community. And so I see it just even amongst my friends and just women in general, just, they're all pretty pissed. I mean, you've heard it more often than not. I definitely have heard it where it's just like, just married people don't invite us. They're, I feel like I'm not part of the community. It's the same old you hear all the time, which is hard to hear, but I do see it's like there, and a lot of women will say it's like, well, it's very different for guys. Guys get invited out all the time. Guys do this, guys do that. And women seem to have a much harder time with it. And I sympathize. Trust me, I sympathize. However, I do think that there are two ways to look at this. Is I could be pissed and just complain about how everyone sucks and no one invites me and whatever, or I do feel I have certain strategies that one can implement that I do feel will actually change the way they view the community and how they can actually integrate to the community. Because I know a lot of people will say, well, I've tried everything, no one seems to care. However, I have a very different take on certain things. Again, Shlomi and I started out with nothing. We didn't know anybody. We were able to penetrate the community. Bless you. Bless you. And so, again, a lot of, I guess, women would say, well, guys get invited out more, whatever. I think there's a fundamental difference between how guys operate as single and women operate as single. Like, for example, the guys that I know, the single guys that I know that are out all the time, it's not like people actually reach out to them and invite them. The biggest difference is they literally invite themselves everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they're proactive about it. And then people eventually invite them out and they're much more integrated in the community. I don't know of any women that actually would do that. Even they might think that's like, well, I feel uncomfortable doing that. I can certainly understand that.
Yeah, what I'm curious about, like, to hear from you, like, what you're hearing is that, if certain people are telling you that it's more of a girl issue rather than guy issue, that it's easier for guys, I want to know, like, what do you think is the justification of saying that? Like, why do they think that it's easier for single men to get invited out into the community versus a single girl to get invited out into the community? Like, are there any specific factors that they're attributing that to?
Well, I wanted to backtrack, and I wanted to say there's a couple things here before we move forward. I'm sorry, but the first thing was men being invited out more than women. Now, first of all, I'm not sure if it is true, but I did feel when I was single, I did feel like, oh, like families are inviting single men out. I think it has something to do with the shidduch crisis, or having, bless you, or having more single women that more like, if you're a guy, you're more like at value, I would say, instead of a single woman. Yes, like people want to meet more guys because they know more single women. They don't want to meet single women because they have nobody to set them up with. So they want to meet single guys because there's more value to that. There's not so much value to having single girls. So if you're just having people over, I'm not saying that this is correct, but I'm just saying that if you're having people over just to meet them and to set them up with your friends, or you're thinking about setting somebody up, that's really nice in theory. But it's coming out to looking obviously like men are being invited out more than women. I do feel like that is probably one of the examples that I can think of.
Max, I don't know. Like, I know we've had experiences, but do you feel like when somebody single gets invited out to a Shabbos table, it's because they want to set them up, or it's because they just want to invite somebody?
I think it's more of that. I do think sometimes they get invited out because they want to set them up, but I think that's a few and far between.
I think there's two reasons why people would be invited, and it could even be at the same time. Like,
it's possible.
I have done it. I have, for sure. I've asked Shlomi. I've been like, that guy in shul, I want to meet him. I want to set him up with somebody. I want him to come over. But at the same time, we've also had mixed meals where we've had my friends or their friends' friends. Not that there's an agenda with every single meal, but there are some agendas that, like,
I hate the agenda meal. The agenda meals are
there are agenda meals.
Genuine. Max, remember they somebody invited us, both of us, when we were both single.
Yes.
He invited us to Friday night dinner,
and there were a bunch of single girls there.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, when we were coming up with him after shul, he's like, by the way, there are like 3 single girls at this table, and I did not mean to invite you for them. It just happens to
Right.
be
Right.
that they'll be there that week.
Right.
And
For the record, a typical Shlomi event where all the girls were howling on his slimes. But I ended up getting a date out of it. I ended up getting
You
a
did
couple
get a
dates
date
out
out
of
of
it,
it.
Because
actually.
they thought you were
Actually.
Shlomi? Nah, just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Happened to be.
If
It
they
was
thought,
a very.
if they thought I was Shlomi, I would have gotten more dates.
Just kidding. But I think that's one factor, is that there's less demand for single women, there's more demand for single men. So people are trying to make connections with single men rather than single women. And I'm not saying that that's true. I'm not saying that it's a right thing. I think that that's my theory. And I've only come across the theory because, I mean, listen, it makes sense, but um you do have to have a balance. You can't just like have an agenda of just setting your single friends up who are women and just have these guys over. I think it comes down to, you know, why people are even inviting other people for lunch. You know, are you getting to know the person? Do you want to have more of a broader friend group, or do you just want to set somebody up? And I've been at tables where I was at when I was single, I was asked to come for a meal and I did. And then they were talking to me about this guy and this guy, this guy, this guy. And I ended up actually going out with him. It was really bad. It was not a good situation. And I was never asked back to a meal. So I was like, okay, well, I guess it was just literally to set me up with that horrible experience and like nothing else. Like, come on, like that's very obvious, you know? So I don't know if guys are feeling that way too. It's like, okay, so I'll go out with somebody that they suggested during the meal, and then they're never invited back to that family again, or invited back to that couple again.
To be honest, I
Right.
wouldn't even want to be invited to a meal like that.
Right.
You're just being invited because you're a piece of meat. They're just trying to set
You
you up.
wouldn't
Like,
know that though.
no, but like
Well, you know when you
right
get
away,
there.
within
You
15
know when you
minutes,
get
you know
there.
right away, like why.
In 15 minutes, the second you walk in, you know.
Well, okay, the second you walk in, but you're already
already
in
accepted.
it. You're already in it.
Right. Already, I mean,
I-
listen, you make them listen. You still have a good time.
I
Like,
will.
you know.
Okay, so that's
I think
that's one thing, but I would say also for like the single women, it comes down to personality. A lot of people don't have, or it makes them uncomfortable to have this like more of an outgoing type of personality.
Right. Well,
And I think that's
certain-
fair to say, and say, you know, I do wish like I am more of an introvert and I'm very shy and I feel uncomfortable. I have anxiety around talking to people at Kiddush or meeting new people, which I would totally understand. So it's easier for somebody to come up to them and be approached. Now, it probably won't happen just because some communities are a little bit more closed off in meeting new people. So you do have to kind of be uncomfortable and crawl out of your box a little bit, I will say. To like the women that are single and they're like, I'm not being asked out, you know, for lunches, and like the couples aren't asking me. Well, I know it sucks, but you really do have to really work on yourself and pull yourself out of your introverted self. And I only am talking from personal experience. And I'm not saying be like the loudest person in the room or go up to everybody at Kiddush or wherever it may be to an event from the shul and say and introduce yourself and like pretend like you're this outgoing person. No, it's more of like very slowly integrating yourself into the shul's community, however that may be, you know, and I understand because it is uncomfortable trying to come out of that shell a little bit, but I personally asked asked to come to meals. I know a couple of your guy friends asked to come to meals. I also asked to come to meals, or I asked to be invited out for Shabbos. And a lot of people thought like that was weird. But the people that I asked to go for lunch or dinner or whatever it was, they didn't think that. And I personally didn't care about other people thought at that point because I was making connections the way I wanted to. So you kind of have to put other people's opinions on the back burner and kind of just you do what you need to do in order to fulfill whatever type of, community you want.
Yeah, I mean, Max, I mean, you were the president of the shul for TBC
Right.
for a long time.
I
And
worked my way up
how
there.
many married people complain that they weren't getting invited out? Like, I
A
don't
lot.
know.
Single people?
No. Like, married people
people
were complaining.
They were actually. I even
But who
got.
wasn't
I even got
involved in
complaints. Like every Saturday night, people would reach out to me and be like, "No one wished me good Shabbos in the shul. No
Yeah.
one wished me good Shabbos. No one said hello." It's a big issue in general.
No,
And-
right.
But
That's the thing. Like, I don't even think it's not a single. I don't necessarily think it's a singles issue because you're having our married couples who are having the same complaints. I just think, it's more exacerbated in the singles community because if a married couple doesn't get invited out, okay, at least they have a
We're
meal
together.
together. But
yeah.
like for a single, if they don't get married out, it's more painful.
Invited
So,
out.
yeah, to get
married
invited
out.
Did I say married out?
They want to get married out.
Oh, they want to get married out? Yeah, they could get married out, but
Right.
no. So I think they feel it more than, let's say, a married couple. But like, I don't necessarily think the issue is necessarily just by them. I think Sarah's position, which is like maybe potentially more personality thing, because we know plenty of we know single guys that literally invite
They're out
out
every
every week. Like, whether it is that they're inviting themselves out or they're just putting themselves out there, whatever it is.
But to their defense, they get it done.
They do get it done.
They make sure that they are invited out. They may ask, or they don't care if people are like, I'm sorry, it's not a good week. They don't care, which is good. That's good. Like, and because of that, they don't care so much. They're able to build the connections because the person that they reached out to that wasn't available one week would reach out again in the next week.
Yeah.
And then the next week.
Right.
And then they honestly are just like getting invites right and left because they genuinely they want to make the connection. They want to have a good meal. And they're going to ask.
Yeah.
They don't care.
It's eventually when we get to it, I do want to give over certain things that people actual something that people can do, even if you're super introverted, you feel uncomfortable asking, that type of thing. Simple things you can do to actually help your situation. One specific thing that I think anyone could do. You could be the shyest person in the world. You could do this. Again, I think it's something I was mentioning before. The biggest difference I see that men do that women don't do is simply just walking in and wishing someone a good Shabbos. I think everything comes down to it. There's going to be a mindset shift, and this may sound like I'm attacking or whatever, but people want to be around people that add value to their life. Meaning, it's almost like every time I'm talking with someone, honestly, my thought process is, what can I do for that person? Literally, that's actually what I think. The
natural salesperson.
The natural salesperson.
I don't think
right?
that. Is that bad? I don't think that.
It honestly, if I could actually help someone in anything, or I also say, before I leave every conversation, I'll be like, we should grab coffee, whatever. Even though we may not actually ever grab coffee, it's just a feeling of, I'm sending a signal like, hey, let's be friends. There was a story from one of my audiobooks from, what's the name? Earl Nightingale, one of the greatest books ever. But there was a story of, there was a husband and wife. They moved into this new community, and the husband loved it, but the wife, for whatever reason, absolutely despised the place. She felt nobody was friendly. She felt nobody was this, whatever. And so she wanted to move. Someone eventually approached the women of the community and said, why don't you want to be friends with this person? They're like, well, she just always seemed like she wanted to be by herself. It seemed like she didn't want to be friends with us, so we never actually reached out. Until they actually knew that she wanted to be friends with them, did they actually reach out and become friendly? So I think one thing someone can do that even the most introverted person in the world when they get to shul, pick one person they want to be friendly with, and all they got to do is wish them a good Shabbos, say good Shabbos, and sit in their seat, and you don't have to do a thing. When davening ends, you go up to them again, wish them a good Shabbos. You don't even have to talk to them, and leave. And do this. You do this every single week until it comes to a point. Where that person that they're going up to eventually is going to be like, "Who the hell is this person?" And say, like, I want to learn a little bit more about them. Because imagine if you're in shul and someone just continuously goes up to you and wishes you a good Shabbos. Don't you want to know who that person is?
Oh, of course.
Don't you? Like, wouldn't you want to be like, who the hell are you? Like, tell me about yourself, right? I think anyone can do this. You don't have to even know how to talk to someone. They're going to want to talk to you, because I think the whole concept is, what can I do for someone else? You are essentially giving someone something. You're making them feel good without you asking for anything in return. I think a lot of it is, unfortunately, when someone just stands at Kiddush and waits for someone to approach, it's hard to do that. Listen, do I wish people would be friendlier? I wish that. I literally tried my hardest to try to make the shul a friendlier place. It's very, very hard to change people. Sometimes people just suck. It's just a reality.
I will say there is a huge difference between, let's say, being in a large market like a New York or New Jersey versus somewhere in the Midwest, like we're in Pittsburgh right now, and we're
where they
going to Cleveland. Like, literally, you walk into shul here, everybody says hello here. Like I told you, Max, like obviously off camera, about my experience when we came to Cleveland for Shabbos, and I was literally, the guy gets up, he does like his Mazel Tov announcements, and then he looks at me and he's like, "Oh, by the way, we want to welcome Shlomo and Sarah."
But that's us as a couple. I don't know what it would be like for a single person.
No, 100%. Even so, I'm saying that's an extreme. When he gets up and he's like, "Oh, we want to welcome them, and by the way, can you please stand up so everybody can see you?" Like, obviously, I recognize they'll probably only do that for a couple, but I'm saying the change in tone in terms of, if somebody new walks in, everybody stops and says, hello, single or not single, it really doesn't matter. It just happens to be when you're in a bigger market, you have to put in that much more effort to kind of like, make a dent to get noticed.
But what do you think of that? If, let's say you're a single girl, right? You walk in, just imagine you're standing at shul and some random person just constantly every week, for whatever reason, just wishes you a good Shabbos. They don't have to say a thing. What are the chances of you starting a conversation with that person?
Right. Well, I already said, like, there's no harm in being nice. And I used to have really bad, like, social anxiety. And one of the exercises that I was told to do was think about, like, what's the worst that could happen.
Right.
And when you tell somebody with social anxiety what's the worst thing that could happen, is literally like, I felt like I could die. Like, not like, the worst thing that could happen is me being embarrassed to a point where I felt like I couldn't go back to that situation ever again. And so I wouldn't go back to that shul, or I wouldn't go back to that person. Anyways, so to get over that fear, what I worked on was actually trying to have genuine conversations with people, like you said, Max. And, like, there is no harm in being nice. And you know what? If you say, like, good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and the other person is like, F you, all right, you tried your hardest. Like, you tried to be nice, and that person is not going to respect what you have to say. So maybe you're doing yourself a favor, by saying, like, good Shabbos to this person, and they are totally ignoring you. It's not, it's to me, to go up to somebody who is new and to introduce yourself is like, I'm genuinely curious about people, so I do want to know who you are, and find out about the person, no matter which community I'm in, because I genuinely am a person now who I really want to find out about the person in the room who I haven't spoken to. So, having said that, if I'm the one that's approaching them and I'm trying to be nice at first, and the response that I get is negative, Okay, I did my best. You know, I didn't even I whatever I said hello, I said good job, I said my name is Sarah, and they're just like, no. Okay. So you did what
Well,
you at least
typical Upper West Side.
at least I had a feeling of okay, well I that was not on me, you know, like that I tried to attempt to speak to that person or whoever, that couple, family, and okay, they're just not having it. So at least you have you do try. That I'm not saying everybody is going to be nice when you do try, but at least like I would have at the end of the day I would feel like okay, well at least I tried. At least I went up to them. At least I tried to ask, you know. Um so I think it starts there. Being single, when I was single, I would do this and it helped. It did help a lot. But it came down to a lot of questions that I had being answered because I would be like, oh, what about that couple? Maybe they're not going to ask me out or ask me to lunch, or they're not going to ask. They're too elite, you know. And then I started to integrate myself a little bit more into conversation with them, and it turned out I was wrong, completely wrong. Completely judged them based off of not even talking to them and from what I heard about other people, you know. And I ended up having a really good relationship with them, and I did go to many meals with them, and they had me over a lot. So it's more of like kind of find out for yourself situation. Find out who that person is yourself. Don't go based off of your friend or what you've heard, what you've seen. Find out genuinely who that person is because maybe they themselves are really nervous. Maybe they themselves have really bad anxiety. Um, I actually met somebody at shul back in Teaneck, and I was wondering why this woman doesn't come up to me. I was like, this is just weird. Nobody, this person is not coming up to me. And it turned out that she was just really anxious, not being with her husband, being separated from her spouse. And so it wasn't personal. It was just her just being her herself had a little bit of anxiety about it. So really can't judge people the way you don't want to be judged by somebody.
Right.
Listen, it does not cost anything to be nice, that's for sure. I do want to add though, there is I think one piece like to follow up on that, which is, you know, usually whenever you're in a conversation with somebody, there's always like the next step or something about that conversation that you're like, oh yeah, let me send that to you after Shabbos, or oh that recipe
Follow up,
or whatever,
like a follow
and
up.
then somehow get their number and then text them and say, hey, love the conversation. By the way, this is what I was talking about. Here's the link, and now you have their number. By the way, Max, how many times does this happen?
We
You
do
go to
this all the
Kiddush,
time.
you meet somebody
We do this all the
awesome,
time.
you meet somebody who's awesome, and you really want to invite them, but then you're like, oh shoot, I forgot their name, I don't have their number, and I already forgot them.
I think that's just a you problem.
What? That is me problem.
I'm just kidding.
I forget a lot of names. But Max, how many times does that happen? You're like,
all the
I
time.
forgot what the guy's name was, and I don't have his number. So
All the
unless you
time.
like really are out there in terms of like trying to find out who this person was, like a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they just nothing ever happens of it. But like, you know, if you yourself as the single who goes out there and follows up on the conversation and then sends them a text or a WhatsApp or whatever, they now know your name and they have your number. So you're making it easier for people to, you know, keep you top of mind if they're hosting a meal. Not everybody hosts a meal all the time, but if they happen to be hosting a meal and they came across you and they liked you or whatever, then they now have your number. They can just text you, say, hey, would you like to come for Shabbos?
Yeah. 100%. I think it all ties into essentially the story I said before. It's like, why didn't, you know, like those women in the community like want to be friends with this woman? Because they all felt that she didn't want to be friends with them.
Right.
It's almost like I use this. I don't realize how often I use this line because I actually got the line like, "Hey, we should go for coffee sometime." I remember when one of my first jobs in real estate, I was calling it was crazy. I was some 22-year-old kid, but I was talking to like this big developer in like New York or whatever. And I remember just the way he spoke to me. He's like, pretty soon I'd love I'd love to buy you a coffee one day and shake your hand or whatever it is. And it sounds like one of these like stupid whatever, but I'm like, that really felt like something. I'm like, this is a somebody who like is basically saying like, hey, I'd like to get to know you on a personal level. It meant a lot. So literally, I say this almost in passing all the time. I'm like, whenever I meet someone, they'll be like, hey, we should go for coffee or whatever it is. It's all it's doing is just saying like, hey, we should be friends.
Or you want to connect beyond this conversation.
I do think though, like literally like something to take out of this conversation, which, Shlomi also said it. It's like, just because you're single doesn't mean you can't invite people. Shlomi and I, when we were single, we used to invite people all the time.
Yeah.
We would be the
single
first
or married.
person,
it made no difference.
Single or married, it made no difference to us. Like we still would invite. We were the first to invite, and eventually then people started inviting us. We didn't.
That's the thing. You have to initiate.
Someone
does have to be the initiator.
No, right, Max. And people appreciate it when people appreciate getting invited. So like, and then they're going to want to invite you.
Exactly.
So like, if you're not getting invited, just invite them.
Exactly. The focus, it's almost like a mindset shift. It's like the focus needs to be on the other person. Almost, it's like if you give more to that person, eventually what goes around comes around. And I'm telling you, like, I do believe if you walk into shul as a single woman, walk into shul every week, you go up to the same person and wish them a good Shabbos and don't say anything else. Eventually, it could be 3 weeks from when you started, 5 weeks. Eventually, this person is going to want to know who you are. Right. I just feel like it's bound to happen, and it's only going to build up a conversation, and eventually, like, who the hell are you? Please tell me all about you. I want to hear about you. Because you essentially are giving someone something without asking for anything in return. When it comes down to it, you're giving someone something without getting something in return. If you can somehow do more of that, people are going to want to hang out with you. People are going to want to invite you out. People want to get to know you, basically. I think that's the easiest way to do it. And if you want to multiply your chances, pick 2 people each week to just wish them a good Shabbos. Literally every week. When you get to shul, when you leave shul, say good Shabbos and walk out. I don't know, Shlomi, what do you think?
I think it's great. Like, honestly, like pick your people, do your thing. I mean, obviously, you do what you can. If you feel like one person is all you can do, then that's all you can do. If you feel like you can do more, even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it never hurts to say good Shabbos to somebody. Eventually, it leads to more conversation and getting to know them.
I'm just saying, again, like, imagine you're at shul and like this person keeps coming up to you and wishing you a good Shabbos.
Right.
Like, what do you think you're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, listen, on the mindset thing, like, there's this notion that if you walk into shul that everybody's going to come over to you and say hello. Like, honestly, in a lot of places, that is not the case. Like, yes, certain places, they're overly friendly shuls and they will always come up to you. But, like, in most places that are not like that. So, like, don't necessarily feel down that nobody says hello. That's just the standard.
You have to come out of your comfort zone. It's a comfort thing. You really have to come out of a comfort zone. It's not easy.
Right. Max, I was thinking just now that, just getting back to this premise that it's easier for guys than it is for girls. I was just thinking, like, imagine like walking into shul Shabbos morning and, usually, typically, unless you're Sephardi, single guys do not wear talisim, right? You could walk into a shul, 99.9% of the shul has talisim on, except like, let's say 2 or 3 guys, right?
Right.
They physically just completely stand out.
Right.
Everybody notices that they are not the same as everybody else. So like they like stick out like a sore thumb. So it's almost like built in that like, oh, like they're different. Like I feel like a lot of people, like at least even if they never met them, they're like, oh, the single guy comes to shul. You never even met him, but you know who he is. It's not the same by girls because they just
you don't know who's.
You have no idea. Yeah, you have no idea. So like, I don't necessarily agree with the premise, but I can see where it's a little bit more obvious who's single and who's not, at least on the guy's side. So at least people will come up to the guy knowing that like, oh, he probably needs a meal. Versus with the girl, it's not so obvious who needs, who doesn't.
It's actually no. It's a good point. I think it's a very good point. I think a lot of women will say also it's just like, well, guys go to daven 3 times a day. For the guys that do go to daven 3 times a day, at least on Shabbos, they have more opportunities to communicate or whatever. So all the more so if you're a girl, you go for the most part Shabbos morning or whatever it is. Got to make the most of it. At the very least, find one person, wish them a good Shabbos, and just constantly just overload the goodness. Just wish them a good Shabbos every week. Eventually, something is going to give. And if it doesn't give, move on to someone else. Something is going to give eventually. Someone's going to want to know.
Everybody.
Yeah, and honestly, it works in
not
pairs.
Just one. You're the one person I'm going to say good Shabbos to.
Yeah. I don't say good Shabbos to anyone.
Everyone.
Except you. Yeah. And before you know it, you're friends with everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Max, do you find that, like, I don't know, Sarah, you're the woman on the panel. Girls, when they go to meals, they go in pairs. They'll never necessarily go alone.
That's
so, like, if one person gets invited, does that automatically invite the friend as well? Because then you can, like, really multiply your effort.
That is interesting. It's true.
If you have one person working the room and trying to get an invite, then that also gets you an invite, and vice versa.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, could.
Shidduchim.
Yeah.
It's hard. Listen, it's hard. I acknowledge that. But again, I think, you can either continue just doing the same old, and unfortunately nothing changes, or at the very least, you have nothing to lose. If you already hate your situation, it can't get worse, can it? You have nothing to lose.
Exactly. You have nothing to lose. Right.
Try it out.
Yeah.
Try it out.
No, that's good advice.
I couldn't hold a conversation for more than 10 seconds, and then I got professional help from the greatest social person in the world, Mordechai, our older brother.
That's
and
right.
Now, but again, like the premise of what he told me is like when you talk to someone, you focus on the other person. Literally, the whole premise of talking to someone is focusing on the other person. How are you doing? Where are you from? How was your experience with this? Don't talk about yourself. Nobody cares about you. It's like when I ran on Max and TV. It's like when I reach out to a CEO, it's like they don't have 5 seconds to talk. But when you ask them to come on a podcast and talk about themselves, they have all the time in the world. People want to talk about themselves, and that's what people want to do. So I think it's all about just focusing on the other person. When you talk to someone, you don't have to talk about yourself. You don't have to talk about focus on the other person. Everything is about the other person.
Yeah, tap into that natural psyche of a person. They just want to talk about themselves.
They just want to talk about themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
They feel good about
People love talking about themselves.
People love talking about themselves.
That's right.
It's true. And it's great.
100%.
I feel like that's another episode.
What? Talking about themselves?
Yeah. No, like what to talk about.
Oh, what to talk about? Max, I will say also, let's say they do get, let's say one gets the invite, right? Oftentimes they invite other people, right?
What do you mean?
So let's say you get an invite to somebody's meal, right? So
and then you meet other people at the meal and you get an invite there, yeah.
Right. So there are other guests at the table, right?
There's cross invitations.
Exactly. It just like opens up so much more opportunity.
It's networking.
Yeah, you're opening up, like you can turn one meal into 4.
Yeah.
It's true.
I will say, things aren't easier when you are a couple. And the example I wanted to give was when Shlomi and I, when we were in Israel this past year, it's very, very difficult where we were, I felt, for women to meet each other and to network, because it's just the culture that women do not go to shul. So much so that the shul that Shlomi davened in did not have a women's section.
You know what they say, the firmer you get, the women don't go to shul.
They come for Kiddush.
It'll come for Kiddush. But it's very challenging. It is very challenging socially for women. That's how I felt about it. There are shiurs that you can go to. Even at the shiurs, people kind of head out, kind of do their own thing. I did meet a couple women that were really sweet through like shiurs. But in general, if I really, really, really wanted to meet a really good friend or meet any type of couple or try to network, I really, really had to work very hard. And I did not. I didn't do it. Shlomi, on the other hand, for the men, like you said, Max, they have davening. No matter if you only daven once a week, if you daven once a day, doesn't matter. You have a minyan. And after shul on Shabbos, you have kiddush. For women, if you don't have a women's section, sometimes you have no choice but to go to shul just for kiddush. And you may be the only woman there, or you may be one of three one week, or you may have 20 women there. You don't know. But my point is that it did come easier for Shlomi, just in general. He had his chavrusas, he's had his chaburas, he had, somebody that he met at shul, and then that networked to another person, that networked to another person. All the people that we became friends with, or the people I became friends with, was because of Shlomi and his friends and their wives. I really would have had to taken it not just one step further, but like two steps further for myself. At the time, I was just very tired. I was super pregnant and I
Yep.
just couldn't I couldn't handle anything very social or trying to work on myself in that way. But I will say where we were, it was much, much easier for Shlomi and for the men to network. But for the women, you have to put in, I would say, like 3 times the amount of effort that the men would have to.
I hear. Well, especially if women aren't coming to shul, then it starts there. If women aren't coming to shul, then
It's
it's
just
hard to
it
meet.
just was not a
It's hard to
community
have.
thing. Yes.
Right. It's hard to, if you do a shear once a month, if not less, it's hard to do anything with. It's
Yeah.
what I'm really referring to is really like the shul that we're a part of. There is a fairly large, we're probably the largest women's section in our area. Like a lot of the other shuls don't even have women's sections,
Hmm.
but at least we have a fairly large, you know what the women's section is
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that. Yeah.
There is what to navigate with. There is what to,
I'm
you
just
know,
saying depends on the situation,
depends on the
but
situation, right?
men do have, like, they're presented with more opportunities to network, and women are not, and they have to work a little harder. Single, not single, it doesn't matter. Just in general, I think it's a little bit easier. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's easier for men to make those connections more rather than the women, because you're closer to the rabbi, the president, the vice president of the shul. You're dominating with them. You're physically with them. And you can go up to them and you can shake their hand and say, "Good Shabbos." I'm Max Landisman. Um, I mean, you're not able to go up and shake their hand, and you're not davening when you're a woman with them. You could go up to them and you can say, "I'm Sarah. It's nice to meet you. Good Shabbos." But you have that physical opportunity of connecting with them. Like, "Oh, I really enjoyed when you sang," or like, "Can you do Hagba? Can you do Galila?" Right? Like those
Where is this
even
going?
I'm saying, like, these small interactions men have that women do not. And
I
those
hear you.
small interactions, you can go up to the guy after shul and be like, "Oh, thank you for that, Aaliyah. What's your name?"
Yeah.
The moral of the story is that women will not be getting Aaliyahs anytime soon.
Right.
However,
Exactly.
Speak for yourself.
point definitely taken. Max, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this. So, based on what Sarah was saying, she's like, well, men they can meet the president or the rabbi and the gabbai, and they'll see them. It seems like the closer you are in proximity to those people, the more the more you'll be recognized. Like, do you feel like if a woman gets involved in the shul, let's say in the sisterhood or
No, I didn't say involved in the shul. I said davening.
on davening specifically.
Davening specifically. that davening specifically Shachris, Mincha, Marv with a minion or whatever. I'm not saying you have to, or if you just daven Marv, just daven Shachris. You are physically with those people.
I mean, it's true. I mean, men are together more often.
Yeah,
That's a true statement.
yeah.
It's
Not
but
involved.
that's why you have to. That's why you know I put a heavy emphasis, especially. I mean, even for me, even when I go to Mincha Maariv, whatever it is, Shabbos is a big social day. That is where you meet people. That's where it comes down to is Shabbos.
Yeah.
Shabbos. That's where you meet people at Kiddush or whatever it is. That's why I put a huge heavy. So if you're not going to begin with, it's hard to do anything. But I understand where people are coming from. They felt nobody was friendly, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. I'm trying to put a different viewpoint on it. What I would say is give this a try. Just pick one person you feel like you would want to be friendly with. Wish them a good Shabbos. Literally come week after week.
And it can't be you, Max.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. Everybody's gonna come up to Max and be Max, good Shabbos.
I do feel like eventually, if someone actually puts this into action, it will change things for them.
Right.
I do honestly believe that, because I don't think it's possible that someone could possibly go up to someone each week and essentially, when I say wish them a good Shabbos, you're essentially giving them something for free. You're asking for nothing. You're giving something in return. Eventually, they're going to want to return the favor to you in the form of, hi, how are you? My name is X. What is your name? They're going to want to know more about you. Eventually, whether it leads to an invite or not, fine. I do think it will plant a seed that people will realize that this actually could be a way of feeling more part of the community, because I do feel that a lot of, especially single women, feel very isolated from the community for this specific reason. And I do feel that this is one tangible thing they can do that can actually make a difference in their life.
All right, we'll try.
And I don't think I'm asking for so much. I don't think it's such a crazy ask to wish someone a good Shabbos.
I mean, it's for them. If they can take it or leave it. It's up to you.
I do it myself.
Yeah.
I do this myself.
I'm just saying, it's up to them. Take it or leave it.
It's up to them.
Listen to the podcast.
And Max, I mean, I know one person specifically that, having a meal by themselves, actually they look forward to. As a guy, they actually like their time alone sometimes. Like, do you feel that, have you met other single guys like that they're like, you know what, if I don't get, I like to get invited out once in a while, but like if I don't, it's not the end of the world. Like, do you find it? And Sarah, this is a question for you as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Is there a difference in gender in terms of how they, how people react to eating alone? Can you eat alone, and do you enjoy it?
I feel like that's a whole other topic.
No, absolutely, 100%. I definitely know people like that.
I personally sometimes would be invited out for both meals, and I would say no because I wanted to be home by myself. But that's just me.
I hear you. Yeah. No, it's true. There's definitely people like that. Sometimes I don't have an issue with it if I don't get invited out, whatever, Friday night. I have no issue with just taking it easy and going to sleep early because I'm really tired, whatever it is. It's it is what it is. I generally do like going out, but it's nothing, to each their own, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
To each their own. But I know you got to attend to your kid. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful for some people. I'm very curious on, I hope someone, I am curious on if someone actually tries this out and sees what happens, because I feel like it's a very, very easy way, but also I feel like very effective way of breaking into a community, essentially.
Yeah.
Max, I'm going to try that this week.
So we'll hopefully people will let you know.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
Max.
And until next time.
Bye.
And remember, everything will always be about Shidduchim. Catch you in the next episode.